So back on February the 15th of this year, the SIO, Senior Investigating Officer Rebecca Smith, conducted an interview regarding the missing mother of two, Nicola Bulley. It was during this press conference that specific vulnerabilities were mentioned regarding the search for Nicola, and also the fact that Nicola was a high-risk missing person. However, back on February the 3rd, the police were telling a rather different story. Take a listen to the following.
So I'm going to firstly take you through the incidents that led up to Nicola being reported missing. I'll go through a timeline of events for you, followed by a number of topic areas that I believe are of interest to you. Also going on to a couple of areas that have been highlighted in the press, which I want to explain in detail. So first of all, Nicola Bulley was reported missing on Friday the 27th of January after dropping her children at St Michael's School in St Michael's. As soon as she was reported missing, following the information that was provided to the police by her partner Paul, and based on a number of specific vulnerabilities that we were made aware of, Nicola was graded as high risk. That is normal in a missing person from investigation with the information we were in possession of. She was immediately treated as a MISPA, and then on the Monday, the 30th of January, I was identified as the Senior Investigating Officer.
Okay, now just as a point of reference here, 4 days after this press conference, the body of Nicola Bulley was sadly discovered. Yet in this press conference, Rebecca Smith, who was made the SIO of this case back on the Monday after Nicola's disappearance, so Nicola went missing on Friday the 27th, and Rebecca Smith was made the SIO of this case on the Monday. And she talks here in this press conference about the telephone call, about receiving the news that Nicola had gone missing and compiling some information based around her disappearance, and most specifically her vulnerabilities. We were made aware of Nicola Bulley's vulnerabilities straight away, immediately, and she was categorised a high-risk missing person. Yet a very different story was told on February the 3rd by Sally Riley. So let's just get all of this in order before we proceed here. Sally Riley was really the face of the investigation early on until the Monday of Nicola's disappearance. It's at that point in time Rebecca Smith is appointed the SIO. But on the 3rd of February, a reporter asks Sally Riley a very important question. Take a listen to the following.
Discounted finding anything in that immediate area underwater.
Are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation? So was she ill, or was she taking any medication, or underlying conditions?
We're not considering, we've clearly considered the whole picture, but that is not relevant at this time, no, not at all.
So interestingly here, when asked the question, are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation? That is the key paragraph there. Are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation, i.e. her going missing? He then goes on to ask, was she ill, or was she taking any medication or any underlying conditions, anything like that? And Sally Riley's reply is very intriguing here. We've clearly considered the whole picture, but that isn't relevant at this time. No, not at all. Very, very interesting. So on the 3rd of February, there doesn't appear to be any issue. There doesn't appear to be this high-risk missing person with specific vulnerabilities. It sounds like that they've considered the whole picture here, and that is not relevant. It's not relevant at this point in time. It's not an avenue that we're looking down. It's not an avenue that we're seriously considering. And it's not relevant at this time. No, not at all. Not at all. Her own words there. Now, yes, of course the police may be withholding information, but it's the way in which Sally Riley actually answers that question that stands out to me. Not so much the first part, but where she reiterates it at the end there. it's not relevant at this time. No, not at all.
Discounted finding anything in that immediate area underwater.
Are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation? So was she ill, or was she taking any medication, or underlying conditions or anything?
We're not considering, we've clearly considered the whole picture, but that is not relevant at this time, no, not at all.
Now, if they were in receipt of the information in terms of Nicola's vulnerabilities at this stage, which they should have been, according to Rebecca Smith, you would have imagined that Sally Riley would have said something along the lines of, well, clearly we're keeping an open mind at this stage. It's very early on in the search for Nicola, and we're looking at the whole picture, and we're working our way through a load of information at this point in time. Or just try and be a little bit vague about it. I wouldn't say we've clearly considered the whole picture, but that isn't relevant at this time. No, not at all. It sounds very sure that there's nothing to be concerned about in terms of other factors that may have contributed to Nicola's disappearance. She is simply, at this point in time, a missing person who has sadly fallen into the river. That is how it is being portrayed there by the police. But again, just focus in on the reporter's question. The first part is really important here. Are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation? Sally Riley very confidently says, we've checked the whole picture, we've looked at the whole picture, but that isn't relevant at this time. No, not at all.
So first of all, Nicola Bulley was reported missing on Friday the 27th of January after dropping her children at St Michael's School in St Michael's. As soon as she was reported missing, following the information that was provided to the police by her partner Paul, and based on a number of specific vulnerabilities that we were made aware of, Nicola was graded as high risk.
Yet, fast forward to February the 15th, and the narrative concerning the disappearance of Nicola Bulley completely and utterly changes. It goes from a simple missing person inquiry of, we believe this lady has fallen into the river, her belongings are by the bench, it makes sense that she's entered the water. And as the days and nights rumble on, and the days turn into weeks regarding the investigation, everything seems to change on February the 15th during that press conference. It's then mentioned about the specific vulnerabilities, and then it's leaked out into the press what they are, and the press then start reporting that Nicola had past issues with alcohol, and things have been really tough for the family recently, and this was a lady who was struggling with the menopause. So it almost starts to become an exercise in proving to the public why they are searching the river. And people, I wouldn't say they turned their back on the police at this point, but it just left everybody with a very sour taste in their mouths, because they then started to release, as I say, this personal information regarding Nicola, almost trying to justify, that's the word I'm looking for, justify their presence still searching the river, not really looking at outside possibilities. They talk about being open to third-party involvement and the possibility that Nicola walked away and just, left the area voluntarily. But everybody was pretty much clued into the fact that the police were sticking to the river all the way out to sea at some stage during the search for Nicola Bulley. They would not leave that riverside area. But interestingly, as I say, everything changes from February the 3rd. There's no issues, no background information that could coincide with Nicola's disappearance, to the 15th of February, when Rebecca Smith holds that press conference, and all of a sudden it's all about the vulnerabilities. We were made aware of this immediately, and we categorise this as a high-risk missing person investigation.
How deep is it in that particular stretch?
It's different depths, actually, which is why we've had some staff wading the river and some staff underwater search. But as I say, the sheer number, actually an unprecedented amount of technical equipment with the sonars, the pole cameras, the dogs, the surface searches, the underwater search, it is really so very thorough that we have discounted finding anything in that immediate area.
So this again is from the same press conference back on February the 3rd. We have Sally Riley here talking about the depth of the water close to where Nicola Bulley's belongings were discovered. And what stands out to me is not just the fact that they talk about the extensive search effort which has taken place, the police divers, the overground search team, the underwater search team, the police dogs, the cadaver dogs, pole cameras, sonar equipment. This is all within the first week. But what stands out to me is the fact that Sally Riley pretty openly says there, we've pretty much discounted that area of Nicola being there, basically, close to the bench, which just leaves so many questions. I mean, it doesn't matter how you look at this case. It doesn't matter which angle that you look at this from. Whether you believe that Nicola was this individual who did have some personal problems and entered the water voluntarily, even if that is the case, then she most definitely didn't enter by the bench, did she? Which just opens up a great deal of further possibilities, but also a lot more questions. Because if she did enter the water, then it had to have been further downstream. So how did she get further downstream? Did she go back down the towpath? Did she cross on Blackpool Lane, as I suggested back when Nicola was actually a missing person? I said, you know, they really need to start checking further downstream. There's a gate here which carries on the walking path network. She may well have crossed the road and continued further downstream, and then lo and behold, 48 hours later, sadly, her body was discovered there. But if that is the case, and she did leave the towpath, she did go back down the towpath towards Blackpool Lane, then why wasn't she seen? Why is there no dashcam footage seeing Nicola crossing the road? Well, you know, that road is incredibly busy during the early morning hours. Now, back to the original topic and subject of this particular video and the possible change in narrative regarding the search for Nicola Bulley. It's quite interesting, isn't it, when you look at what happened during the search effort. You had the friends and family who came out and said this is very out of character for Nicola. She's a very happy person, she loves her children, she loves her job. You had her parents speaking live on TV, basically saying, yeah, we saw her the night before. She was in great spirits. She had just secured some kind of deal at work for a customer. And then we also have the evidence, don't we, of the morning of her disappearance regarding her phone usage, sending an email to her boss, messaging one of her friends to organise a play date for her children, attending a work call. And a lot of people say to themselves, well, hang on a minute, is this really how someone who is looking at ending their life, is this how they are going to behave just moments before they take their own life? Acting normally, looking to the future, planning things, being present in their own life. Does that make any sense? And then I guess if you then rewind back to February the 3rd, and we have that press conference there with Sally Riley saying, well, no, there's no outside factors here. We've looked at the whole picture. Clearly, we've looked at the whole picture, but there's nothing to indicate that there's any sort of outside influences which would have caused Nicola to go missing. And then we have, as I say, that very drastic change in the direction, in the message which was put out there by the police on February the 15th. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that the police may well have kept this information hidden or kept it quiet for some length of time and not really wanted to reveal personal information regarding Nicola at that stage. But as I alluded to earlier at the start of this video, it's more to do with how Sally Riley responds to the question that actually interests me. The fact that she seems so sure that there's no outside influence here which has affected or contributed to Nicola's disappearance. So then why did that change? Why did that change on the 15th of February? Was it simply public pressure and the media who were coming down quite hard on the police during that time period, and they felt a need to justify the consistent and constant searching of the River Wire when other people were saying, well, hang on a minute here. Have you done your due diligence? Have you sealed off the area? Are you looking for maybe a third party involvement with this case? I mean, maybe they just felt under pressure, and that was the reason they felt a need to come out of that information on the 15th of February. I mean, I think a lot of people will agree that it wasn't the best idea to put her public information or maybe her own personal struggles out into the public domain, or even allude to them for that matter. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What do you take from this particular police press conference back on the February the 3rd, with the discussion of there being no outside influences or outside issues concerning the disappearance of Nicola Bulley, and the radical change and shift in direction on February the 15th, which happened to coincide with Rebecca Smith becoming the SIO, the senior investigator of this case. And everything seemed to change, didn't it, just around that time period, and particularly in that press conference in general. Leave your own thoughts and theories down in the comments section below. I'll be sure to check those out. And as always, many thanks for joining me for this one. There'll be the Nicola Bulley playlist up in front of you shortly if you wish to check out other videos I've created on this case. But for now, I'll see you all again in the next one. Take care. Cheers.